Hey, this video is for those who want to better understand what the game plan is of what they're trying to do overall in a Street Fighter V match. Maybe you came from another fighting game that's very different, like Tekken. Maybe this is your first fighting game that you're trying to learn on a deeper level. Or maybe you're just checking to see if there's anything that you missed. Either way, hopefully I can help you out. We can break down, roughly, what you'll be doing in a match of Street Fighter V into 3 phases: neutral, offense, and defense. Neutral is when neither player has an overwhelming advantage, and both are jockeying to put themselves into a good position. A good example of this is when the round is just started, or right after a throw break. Offense is when you're in a situation that benefits you, and are trying to make the most of it and carry your momentum to knock out your opponent. Think of the situation where you just got a knockdown and the opponent is getting up near you, or otherwise when the opponent is forced to block or back up. Finally, defense is just the counterpart of offense, where you try to stop your opponent from pressuring you into submission and return to neutral. If you play well and beat your opponent in neutral, you'll be rewarded with damage, and sometimes the opportunity to run your offense. Ultimately, your goal is to get through neutral and run offense as often and for as long as possible, while minimizing damages incurred from your opponent's offense with good defense. In other words, you play smart so you can go dumb. As a beginner, in neutral you mainly need to focus on poking or footsies and anti-airs. These are major components of having a good ground game. Poking and footsies revolve around the core idea that you want to either damage your opponent or make them block your attacks. Straightforward, but consider the opponent wants to do the same to you. Instinctually then, we want to press our buttons right as we get into range. In this case, the longer ranged attack will be pressed first and thus carry an advantage. So what do you do if you're outranged? Then you move out of range of the button and either hit the opponent in their recovery in what is called a whiff punish, or walk back into your range and force them to block your poke after they recover. This concept of poking and baiting pokes is the heart and soul of footsies. There's also stuffing attacks with attack priority, but don't worry about that right now. Jumps and dashes are ways to sort of bypass footsies in the ground game in general. You take a gamble on the opponent not being ready to react to the jump, or not be preemptively checking for dashes. Playing the ground game is hard, and the reward for a successful jump in or dash is relatively large, so you might find your opponent doing this quite often. How can you be ready for the jump in or dash? Anti-airing starts with knowing what your character's anti-air attack is. These are typically moves that extend a hitbox into the sky, be it a fist, a foot, a head, whatever. Of course, some anti-airs are better than others, and some characters barely have good anti-airs at all. Certain special moves like the medium Shoryuken on Ryu and Ken are all you need, while others like jabs only work in specific scenarios. If you don't have an instinct for finding what's good and what's not, find a character guide or watch a top player of your character play a match. It's very likely they'll anti-air at least once. Copy them. Okay, so you know what to anti-air with, but how do you pull it off in a match? Even top players get jumped in on sometimes. How the hell am I supposed to do this complex Shoryuken motion every time they jump in range on reaction? Well, you practice, but not in training mode. You have to focus on your anti-airs in a match. Think only about anti-airing and wait for a jump. Sure, this means your ground game and footsies will suffer, and you might lose while you're learning to anti-air, but you're in it for the long con. Even once you get good, you'll find that you miss anti-airs on jump-ins that you weren't ready for. It's just that you'll be ready for more jump-ins with experience and have the muscle memory to match. We don't leave everything to raw reactions and reflexes in fighting games. Instead, we use experience and intuition to guide and seemingly boost our reactions. We augment reactions with reads. If you're curious about this concept, SageAim has a great video on the mental stack in fighting games you should check out. Beating dashes is simpler. You can try reacting similarly to anti-airs, but you can also just put out frequent but hard to punish hitboxes like jabs, either randomly or preferably on a read. If your opponent tries to play long range with something like projectiles, mix up your approach between walk blocking and jumps. By walk blocking I mean walking forward a bit, then blocking, walking a bit, then blocking. By threatening the jump, your opponent will be forced to play footsies or back themselves up into the corner, since they don't want to throw a projectile that's jumped over and eat a 40% of their life damage combo. Avoid having your back in the corner to the best of your ability, and try to put the opponent in the corner as often as you can. corner combos being more damaging, the restricted movement, and easier access to pressure after knockdowns make defending in the corner a pretty scary experience. Offense and defense is straightforward compared to neutral. This is mostly about mind games and a rock paper scissors type guessing game. This can apply to a variety of situations, but for simplicity's sake, consider the situation where one player is recovering from a knockdown while the other player stands right next to them. We call this situation okizeme, or oki for short. For offense, you can boil down your options to a mix-up between attack and throw. For defense, your options are block to beat the attack, or throw to break the opponent's throw. You can also try normal attacks, but those lose to well-timed offense. The third, risky option is to bust out with an invincible reversal like Super or EX Shoryuken. I can't recommend this as you can get overly reliant on it, it costs meter, and it's usually too risky to be worth it. Basically, you're just guessing from an advantageous position to maintain momentum and get damage, or guessing from a disadvantageous position to stabilize and return to neutral. When it comes to pressuring your opponent on their block, you can kind of just chain together moves that are plus on block, typically light and medium punches. When you're ready to get more advanced, look into block strings and frame traps for your character. There are more advanced options for both offense and defense that this video doesn't cover, such as the delayed throw tech and shimmy. I have a video for those two options specifically, but there are many other videos from other people about those and other concepts if you want to get in depth. And that's everything you need for a basic understanding of the core gameplay of Street Fighter V. There's a lot more nuance to get into on, well, everything that I've covered in this video pretty much, but I refrain from adding too much detail on specifics so as to not overload you with information. Plus a video that covers as much of what I know as possible would be stupid long, and then still miss stuff since I'm not a top level player. However, if there's something you feel is important that I missed in the video, feel free to leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching.